Okay, there we go. Hey, everybody, welcome. I'm Lisa. I'm one of the staff psychotherapists here at the Counseling Center at HSU.
Hi, I'm Janelle. I'm also a counselor here at CAPS, although I'm a resident therapist.
And a darn good one, too.
Oh, stop.
We want to welcome you today to this video input on defense against distorted thoughts. Now, you may notice my background is honoring my love for Harry Potter, as is the title of this workshop. So what we're going to be looking at is how the brain can take thoughts and kind of bend them and twist them, especially when we're facing symptoms associated with depression and anxiety. Okay. We are going to be using a lot of metaphors from the Harry Potter movies. You'll see that woven throughout, and it's just a way of helping both name what's going on and name the experience, and also provide some coping strategies.
Right, and we'll have other explanations too. So if you don't get the Harry Potter universe, that's okay. We are going to explain things, so it's not just going to be through metaphor.
And being that, if you want to think about it, it's a way of also helping your brain not chase after those negative thoughts. It's another way of helping the mechanism of the brain to work with you rather than work against you. Okay? So one of the things that we want to cover first is what is going on in the brain when we're being triggered by an anxiety symptom, or when we're experiencing a depressive symptom. So we have a very short video that we'd like to share with you that's going to talk about two very important parts of the brain, the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex. All right? Janelle, is there anything else that we need before I switch to the video? Anything else that would be good to kind of set the stage for this?
No, it's a super short video. It's 2 minutes, and it just kind of explains what's going on with our brains and how it's normal.
Okay. So I'm going to cue that up for us. Prior to that, though, I am going to mute myself. Here we go.
Is a complex organ in our body. There are hundreds of different parts of our brain responsible for hundreds of different functions. The amygdala is our emotional center and is responsible for reactions when we're in danger. Our prefrontal cortex is right here. It helps us think and reason logically and calms our amygdala. We're going to use our hand for this. Your thumb, folding it in, is the middle of your brain, your amygdala. Your fingertips, folding it around, is your prefrontal cortex, the front of your brain. We'll come back to this in a second. Our amygdala is really important in serious situations. For example, if you see a fire, your amygdala will alert you into action. It cuts off access to your prefrontal cortex, where you think and reason, which is great. You don't need your prefrontal cortex to calculate just how long it will take for the house to burn down. You just need to move. Back to your hand. Your amygdala in the center, with the fingers curled around, flips the prefrontal cortex lid. Flip the lid. Try it with me. Put your thumb in the middle, hold your fingertips, and force your fingertips over with your thumb, the amygdala. This could save your life in the fire situation. The problem is that your amygdala doesn't have the ability to take on perspective. It can make a mountain out of a molehill. There's a wide range of emotions, from 1 to 10, with big emotions on each end, like furious or excited, and small emotions in the middle. Your amygdala doesn't know what's a big emotion versus a small emotion. So when there isn't a fire and just say a pop quiz, your amygdala might react the same and you flip your lid when there's no need to. So your lid is still flipped and you need your prefrontal cortex to perform well on that pop quiz. So you have to find a way to get the prefrontal cortex to come down so you can think and reason. We are going to be doing just that in this lesson.
So, like what was said in the video, we're going, in this lesson, in this video, we're going to talk about how can you get that prefrontal cortex to be in a working relationship with the amygdala so we're not flipping our lid. Because like what was said in the video, when we flip our lid and that amygdala takes over, we get into fight, flight, or freeze. Janelle, you wanted to give a little bit more explanation on that fight, flight, freeze?
Right. Yeah, and she went over a little bit in the video, like you said, and basically you're seeing like a possible dangerous situation as a predator or as, it's danger, and, we're just reacting, and that can look like that shaking or that physiological sympathetic nervous system um, gets triggered, and you have a racing heart, you might feel tense, you're shaking, racing thoughts, and this all might start sounding familiar, right?
Mhm.
It happens, it happens to everybody, and it can look a different way for everybody, right? So it might be that anxiety side of it, like the like everything I just described, or the freeze part where you just like kind of freeze and collapse, or just not know what to do, that kind of thing, or
Well,
again.
and to have that lack of motivation too.
Yes.
That
Yes.
response could also be, and I don't know about y'all, but since we've gone on to online, I've really had to work on my motivation piece. All right. We're in a
Big time.
new environment. So, that flight freeze mechanism, many people are getting triggered by that right now. You are not alone, and it is very common. We can't stress that enough. What you're experiencing is real. What you're experiencing is being experienced by a whole bunch of people, so you're not alone.
Exactly.
How about if we look at two characters from the Harry Potter films that can get the amygdala going pretty good? One would be the Dementors, and the other one are the Bogarts. And these, I'm going to share my screen again. These two are just some pretty interesting characters. Let me get my text up here. So let's look first at the Dementors. Okay. Dementors are some pretty interesting characters, and for me, they truly symbolize the symptoms relating to depression. There's even a line in the movie where one of the characters says, "When they were around, I felt as if I would never be cheerful again." So let's use them as our symbol for a depressive symptom or being triggered by it with depression. All right. So what Janelle and I are going to do, we're going to kind of bounce ideas off right now of the various symptoms of depression that we've come across in our own lives or in working with our clients. And we invite you to take a few moments too and jot down on your own list, what are some symptoms that you have when you are encountering depression? So Janelle, what are some common symptoms that you've encountered with depression?
I've encountered people's sleep changes, right? So some people might get a lot more sleep than normal, or even less, like a lot less sleep, like interrupted sleep, waking up throughout the night, or had trouble getting to sleep. That can also be associated with anxiety symptoms as well. So some of these symptoms will overlap between depression and anxiety, and that's something just to be aware of. Yeah, so sleep, and on that same note too, appetite.
Yes, that's where I was going. Sure, yep. Changes in either craving sugars or carbs or not wanting to eat at all.
Yep.
I think another one we mentioned just a few moments ago, lack of motivation.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I think too, that sense of just feeling stuck. Just don't know where to go or what to do.
Feeling stuck, feeling sad for no reason. that you know of, right? Maybe even feeling guilt
Mm-hmm.
for not being able to do things that you should be doing, right?
Yes, the shoulds.
Mm-hmm.
Dreaded shoulds.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes
Right.
tearful episodes can be a sign of a symptom of depression. By no means is this an exhaustive list.
Right.
All right? And you may even add a few of your own symptoms that you've experienced in your life, or you've experienced in some of your interactions with friends or family. So that would be the Dementor.
Mm-hmm.
The other one from the movie would be the Bogart. Now, the Bogart is an interesting creature that takes on the shape of whatever we are most afraid of, that really gets that fight, flight, or freeze mechanism going, also known as anxiety. Okay? So just like we did with the Dementors, Janelle and I are going to bounce around a few ideas regarding the different anxiety symptoms we've encountered in our work, and we invite you to do the same. Just on a piece of paper, maybe jot down whatever some of your anxiety symptoms are. My big one, racing thoughts. Oh my goodness, my brain just gets going and going. And my Bogart, and that would probably turn into a big fat giant hamster on a hamster wheel. All right. Racing heart is another one. The heart just gets going super, super fast. And it feels like I've run a marathon, or people have said they feel like they've run a marathon and they're just sitting in class, or they're sitting in front of their computer screen looking at this Zoom presentation, and for no reason, the heart just gets going.
I've seen a lot of people deal with shaking and sweating a lot. Like when that gets really up there, like think having to do a public speaking, for a class, right? Also, I've noticed a lot of people with the anxiety symptoms, but also have stomach issues, like butterflies or just a knot in the stomach, like the stomach's in knots, or like maybe even like a lot of, I don't know, there's a lot of things that are kind of connected to the stomach, which is a lot of research is showing that connection as well.
Right. There could be nausea. There could be just that, like Janelle said, that knot in the stomach, that sense of discomfort. Something's just not right, and it just hits you in your gut.
Right. Oh, tension.
Oh, yes.
A lot of muscle tension, right?
Especially back here and across the shoulder blades, or even in the neck.
Right.
And again, these aren't exhaustive lists, but it's just to get your brain going. That these are some of the symptoms that can get the amygdala really activated, and we're doing that lit up. We've flipped our hand and the amygdala is going really, really strong. So what we want to do is I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a second. What we want to do is to take these two characters, the Bogart, the Mentor, and now, like what the video said, we want to bring the prefrontal cortex online. So here we go. We're going to go to Harry Potter once more. And with this, we have a worksheet that we'd like to share with you. And I need just a second to pull up my worksheet.
And these metaphors are just another way of like conceptualizing what anxiety and depression might look like. And it might be helpful for some people. And if it doesn't work for you, that's okay, right? Any of the things that we'll be, any of the tools that we'll be describing, if it doesn't work for you, that's okay, right? Try something else and just keep that in your toolbox for later, because something that might work now might not work later, or vice versa. So something that doesn't work now might work later. So we'll talk about that later on.
And here's the thing too, this is, again, even by you watching this video, you are using your prefrontal cortex. You're already starting to get your prefrontal cortex and your amygdala working together. That is the main focus of today's video. All right. Let's look at another way of describing the prefrontal cortex. So we're going to use two of the main characters from the Potter films. The good Professor Dumbledore is the character that we'd like to use to symbolize the prefrontal cortex. When you think about everything Dumbledore did, okay, his ability to plan, to organize, how he was able to keep everybody kind of calm in the midst of great crisis, that is a wonderful metaphor for what the prefrontal cortex can do. Now, conversely, we've got Harry, especially before he got to Hogwarts. You might remember he would just react. He would be triggered by an emotion, and then his fight, flight, or freeze. Most often it was fight that got triggered in him. But that's a great symbol of how the amygdala just gets fired off and just springs into action.
Right. Right. If there was like danger, he would just fly into it, even if it was against what Dumbledore would say too. He'd be like, nope, my friends are in danger. Got to go do it now. It doesn't matter what you say. I'm going to do it. Right.
Mm-hmm. So here we go. This is, and again, this is, we designed it here that it's linear, but think of it more like a circle. So what happens is you have an input. So you see something or you're experiencing something. In the video, there was that example of a fire. Now it may be having to get ready for midterms or having to get ready for finals as we're coming to the end of a semester. So there's that sensory input. The amygdala sees the final exam or the presentation, and it immediately wants to go, okay, fight, flight, or freeze. But what we want to do in this exercise is show you how the prefrontal cortex can come in and help the amygdala so that the symptoms of anxiety and depression can be helped to be managed rather than having those symptoms run the show. Because what can happen, as we saw in our earlier example, especially when we look at, I mentioned at the very beginning, how our cognitions or our thought processes, how they can get distorted, how they can get bent and negatively impacted when the amygdala is not connected to the prefrontal cortex and you just get into fight, flight, or freeze. So for example, when we were talking about racing thoughts, when we were talking about anxiety and the Bogart, a racing thought could be, I'm not going to make it. I can't do this. Things are never going to get better. All right, so those are some examples of how distorted thinking patterns can feed the amygdala and prevent us from being able to have the prefrontal cortex come online.
Right. And I mean, they're also called irrational thoughts, automatic thoughts, and like in our title, cognitive distortions, right? Or distorted thoughts, right? We do have another section of this that we will go more into specifically what these cognitive distortions look like and how you can counteract them with rational comebacks. And that's a separate video that we'll be working on later, but that's just for future reference. You can check that out on our website. We'll probably have a link to the cognitive distortion list, and you can look at that for yourself. But yeah.
Okay. So here we go. Let's look at then, how do we help the prefrontal cortex stay in a working relationship with the amygdala? And we're going to look at the two spells that countered or that helped protect people from the Bogarts and from the Dementors. All right. So first, I'm going to talk about the ridiculous spell. The ridiculous spell, you might remember, is what was used with the Bogarts. that whatever you found fearful, whatever triggered that fear in you, whatever shape it took, how could you make it funny? Or how could you make it ridiculous? If you don't know Harry Potter, that's fine, okay? Another way to look at this is when thinking about maybe racing thoughts, or that thought of, I don't have any motivation. I would give that a symbol. So like I said, my racing thought was a giant hamster on this hamster wheel, just spinning, spinning, spinning. So how I would make it ridiculous is I could shrink the hamster to something much more smaller, maybe even shrink it to the size of my phone screen, so that, you know what, that thought really isn't as big. It doesn't have as much power over me. I can even make it funny. I could make it cartoonish. Like the hamster wheel gets disengaged and the hamster just goes rolling off into the distance so that it is farther away from me. It doesn't have that impact on me. The other thing, somebody in a group that I did this with and gave me permission to share this, would actually use a water hose and just spray away any kind of negative thought, whatever it was. Somebody even used the symbol of a water bottle, like what you would spray a cat with. That you just, when that thought comes in, you recognize it. Yep, there's that distorted thought. And spray it with a water bottle and have it get chased off, just like you would with a cat. However you can make it, that's using your prefrontal cortex. When you're using your imagination like this, when you're stopping, chasing after those distorted thought patterns, you are using your prefrontal cortex with your amygdala. One other last one is sometimes there's also negative self-talk that can come into play. I'm not good enough. I can't do this. I'm not worthy. Even those thoughts, changing them into cartoon voices. So I'm going to pay homage to one of our wonderful HSU alumni with SpongeBob. I take a character from the SpongeBob and I can change that negative voice into one of the SpongeBob characters. And it just makes me giggle. It just makes me laugh. And that makes the thought not as powerful. Janelle, do you want to talk a little bit about the Patronus?
Yes, I do. So the Patronus charm in the movies, if you remember, it was something that they would call on by remembering their happiest memory, right? The thing that gave them joy, and that thing protected them from the evil Dementors, right? So for our exercise, our Patronus will be a thing that's going to serve as a barrier between you and the negative thought or even a negative situation, right? And this is going to be a safe, calm place that we're going to come up with on our own in this exercise. So it's going to be a guided meditation. It should take, 5-10 minutes, and it should be a way for you to find a place that you can feel safe, that you can feel calm, and that you can go to this place later on, right? If you need it. Like you're going to go into a midterm exam, right? And you're anxious. Go to your safe, calm place, right? Or you're going to go to a public gathering and you have social anxiety. Do a safe, calm place before you go, right? Or if it's after something that was really intense, you could do it, right? So let's start by just sitting in our chairs, putting our feet on the ground. And you can, it'd be good if you closed your eyes because that's good for our imagination sometimes. But if you can't do that for any reason, feel free to like look off in the distance, right? Or like a few feet in front of you and just let your gaze just soften on that. Just focus on the spot and soften your gaze. And again, if you get uncomfortable at any point, just stop it and just sit. Okay. Just know it's okay. So let's just go ahead and, close your eyes if you're comfortable and just start noticing your breathing. Start noticing your breathing, what your body's doing, sitting in this chair. And now we're going to picture a door. You can make this door look like anything. It can be a fancy futuristic door made of glass, or an old wooden door or stone door, whatever you want it to look like, with an archway. Or and go ahead and just picture it, okay? And we're going to open the door, and on the other side is maybe a hallway or something that gets you to your safe, calm place, okay? And the safe, calm place, we're going to pick a location that doesn't have any connection to um, intense memories. We don't want any sadness. We don't want any longing or any negative emotions to interact with that. So a more neutral place, and typically people pick nature spots, or it can be a real place. It can be a fantasy place. It can be a mixture of both. It doesn't have to be real. It doesn't have to be logical. It's just whatever you want it to be that helps you to feel safe and calm. For me, it's a place between the forest and the ocean, right? So we'll take this path that we just opened the door to, your safe, calm place, right? Just follow this path and just start looking around you. And what do you see, right? What do you see around you, right? What type of day, kind of ecosystem, or are you in a building, right? Cozy building with a fire, right? Whatever it is, it's okay. Just picture it in your mind. What does it look like? What colors do you see? What time of day is it? Is it noon? Is it evening? Twilight? Or is it nighttime? Are you in space, or in a nebula, or are you on the surface of Mars? You could even be underwater. Be anything you want. And as you're looking around you, start noticing if you can hear anything or touch anything. We're going to use our five senses to make this place more real to us. So if you're barefoot, do you feel grass or sand underneath you? Maybe there's wind touching your cheek, or you can hear the ocean waves, or the trees rustling, or maybe fire crackling. What do you feel? Right? And as you're exploring your surroundings, is there anything you can imagine what this place would smell like? Maybe you smell flowers, and salt on the air, or the trees around you. What's the temperature like? Is it warm? Is it cool? Is it cold? Maybe you're in the mountains. Snow coming down. And if there's anything around you that you can pretend like that you can taste, and maybe there you have a cup of tea with you in your safe, calm place, you can take a sip. What does that taste like? Or if you're at the ocean or at the beach, maybe you could taste the salt on your lips. Right? Or just smelling the air more if there's no sense of taste. And just really soak in that space. Let that space bring that sense of safety, that sense of calmness as you breathe it in. Deep breaths, deep, relaxing breaths in your safe, calm place. And notice what feeling in your body it brings up for you. Maybe it's a little bit of ease in your chest. Or just maybe relaxing in your stomach. Just the softness. And take a look around. Just take it in. And breathe it in. And as you're breathing it in, take a mental snapshot. A mental snapshot of your safe, calm place. Maybe place it in your heart. Just hold it there for later. So you can take it with you, a little piece. A little Polaroid. Right? Have it in your heart to take with you. And we're going to turn around and we're going to find our path back to that door that we came here with. Find that path, the trail, or whatever it looks like to you. And we're going to find our door again. And this door is going to take us back to our body into the location that we're at. So go through the door, come back to your body. And as you're coming back, just start wiggling your toes, maybe your fingers, squeezing your legs, just moving a little bit in your chair to get back in. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes slowly. Welcome back. Can't hear you.
Technical difficulties. In this short video, we wanted to give you a couple of different ways of helping, one, keep your prefrontal cortex living top down rather than top up with your amygdala running the show, and giving you some tools for countering those distorted thoughts or those bent thinking patterns that can come with depression and anxiety. So just to recap, one of the ways that you can do it to get that prefrontal cortex working with your amygdala, the ridiculous charm, how can you make the situation take a step back, make it funny, make it small, make it manageable, give some symbols of how you can counteract it, or like what Janelle just led us through, accessing that safe, calm place, getting that Patronus that will protect you from that trigger that you're experiencing. So these are just a couple of ways that we'd like to offer. Try them out, like Janelle said. If they work, wonderful. keep using them. If they don't, that's okay. That's all right. There's a couple other resources you can connect with CAPS. We've got a couple of more drop-in groups that you can join, or you can call and talk to through telehealth. You can call and connect with one of our counselors if you'd rather do that. There's a variety of ways. We're here for you. All right. So thanks for spending this time with us. We hope you've been able to take away some things and to learn some things. Know that we believe in you. We're all going to get through this. All right. And we wish you the best as we continue to wrap up this semester. Any final words, Janelle?
No, you guys did great, and just keep at it. Honestly, this takes work. It does. It takes practice. You know, something like we said earlier that doesn't work right now, it might work later because you worked at it. It takes practice because you're creating these new neural pathways in your brain to react, right? To change the way that you do things. You're working against decades of old ways, right? That don't work anymore, right? So it takes time, and so be patient too. This is gonna take some time.
And it's okay. Mark your progress. But even by looking at this video, you've already started making progress. All right?
Exactly.
Wish you the best. Thanks for spending this time with us. And we'll see you around.
Bye.